Good morning, everyone. Good morning, my friends. My name is Mimi Marie, and this is the Uncommon Nutrition Podcast. And we are here to have uncommon conversations around holistic health, natural healing, nutrition, recovery, women's wellness, and to spread the message of health. And today I am here with my dear friend, Heather Keller. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself for us this morning.
Oh boy. Where do I begin? Well, first of all, when you say all those things, I would first lead with, I come to speak as a voice for women, because that's how I identify. And that conversation has recently just surfaced in my life. So it's interesting that I would bring that first, but anyway, we can go into that later. And that also I'm a mother, and like these labels that we put on us, but proudly, and honorably, I say these things also as a nurse, and also as a scientist and a researcher, and also as a explorer and an experimenter of all things regarding health, well-being, wellness, reality, spirituality, and most recently, sound and frequencies and language and the concepts around these things. They seem to be the focus that's happening right now, and how they all create a human experience of alignment, or just something out of alignment. And that seems to be the theme, or the name of my business is Alignment for Nurses. It's not an official business name right now, but it's sort of like the intention that I bring to the work that I'm doing right now. So
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for saying yes to coming on. You'll be one of the first interviews to roll out with my new branding and my new title and all of that good stuff. But I'm just so honored to have you and your experience and your gifts and what you're bringing to the world and what you're creating right now. I'm so excited about. So thank you.
thank you for having me, Mimi. And it's just really an honor to speak with you in particular, this conversation. And just because I know you for many years, and a lot of the work that we've done together on self improvement, and to get to this place where we are right now, in terms of like how we are able to express ourselves freely and authentically, and so it seems sort of kismet that this is my first interview too. Well, not two, but my first interview. So thank you for it being you. It seems very perfect.
Absolutely. I think it's so cool because, we've known each other since I think 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very like we go our separate ways and we don't talk for a while. And then when we come back together, and it's like the perfect moment every single time. And then we kind of walk by each other and walk through some things, and like we're both in these spaces of creating things, and we get to support each other, and it's just been so beautiful. And I'm so thankful that that you just show up in these like synchronous moments. It's always like perfect and meant to be.
Oh yeah, it seems that way. Yes, I think what you're describing is sort of this experience that I had when I was reading the Celestine Prophecy. So I don't know if you read that.
No.
Oh, and but they talk a lot about, this magical place of synchronicity and and I guess, yeah, since around that time, it's just been getting more and more like that. And was like life is very trippy, like very psychedelic at times. And
Yeah.
and and it can be all of it, all of it good, all of it bad, whatever, however we interpret it. But
Mhm.
it's definitely, I would say that a very big difference of how life was for me when I was younger before going
Uh-huh.
on this journey. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
as you know.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and it's so cool because like if you're paying attention, right? It's like it is synchronistic and it is perfect and things are working out for you even when it doesn't feel like it. So I'm in a moment like that of my own where it's like, okay, I asked for this and I asked to be shown and it's like
You
I'm like
must be ready.
I must be.
You must be ready.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Not
then
that
it's
you
like,
are, but you must be, even though you don't feel like it.
yep. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm going to be open to this moment and this experience, and I'm going to step in.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of what what this interview podcast is for too, is because I want to share those experiences and those moments that happen for other people. I want to spread awareness and spread the truth that we're not alone. Because often when we are in those moments and those times, it feels like we're alone. It feels like no one else will understand what we're going through, and we don't know how we're going to get through it. And there, so many of us have had our own moments like that. So I want people to know that they're not alone in their stories.
Okay. Well, I have a confession
Okay.
that right before this call, I was literally saying that I feel alone.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I know, with all of the experiences, all of the trainings and all the, workshops and work that we do on ourselves, that on some level I know in my mind that it's not true. I absolutely know it's not true. But there's still like this lived embodiment of it, like, just feeling like this morning, like I could feel I was like literally like, okay, how old am I right now? 10. Oh, I'm 10. Well, no, I'm not 10. I'm actually 51, but I feel like I'm still 10 at times, you know?
Mhm.
And that was the main theme, like I'm alone, no one understands me, da 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 da.
Mhm.
The same story. Um anyway, and I guess on some level I'm able to use these tools to get out of it or to move through it, and um you know find ways to express it, um and not let it be a constant, although it still appears from time to time.
Mhm. Well, I think the important part is to not let it drive you, like to not have that be what determines your next move, right? Like, oh my gosh, I feel like we could go in a million directions. Conversation.
I know. I had no idea. um but maybe it's important because I was also like sharing this morning with my daughter who's 28, and she's also in a transition right now going into the unknown. She just left Australia and her fiance to come back to the States, and now he's having trouble with his visa, and she's uncomfortable, being in this, like the similar situation that you are, about to step into something unknown and scary, and she's feeling alone. And but just the fact that we were having that conversation this morning about it as we're both going in it, and I'm like, well, maybe that's why I have difficulty feeling or hearing your discomfort, uncomfortable feelings, is because I'm also still having some resistance to feeling my own, that, because that takes me back to those uncomfortable times. And
Mhm.
and and then I just started to cry, because like I just was like, oh my gosh, I love my kid for for being so open and vulnerable, and also that we're kind of going through it together, and
Yeah.
maybe we're not so alone.
Mhm. Mhm. So, it's interesting. My daughter's about to make the same kind of decision for her life. She's not in another country, but she's in another state. So just another synchronicity, I guess. But I wanted to touch on something that you said, where you were like, "How old am I?" And right. So, and then you said you're 10, you felt like you were 10 years old. And, there's so much work that can be done around inner child stuff. But I like that. So, and I know you've done some work in that as well. And so I think it's an important and valuable tool that we can use, because we come to these moments in our lives where we're transported back to these moments when we were a child, and these things happened to us, and we felt a certain way, and we made an unconscious decision or subconscious decision that this is the way it was going to be from now on. And then every moment in the future and now that happens, that brings us back to those same feelings, bring us back to feeling like that child all over again. And sometimes when we're not aware of it, or when we haven't done a lot of work, or when we haven't explored that realm before, we even will make decisions like we would have when we were a child that don't serve us, and that come from survival, right?
Yeah.
Because when we're a kid, we're just trying to survive. And so sometimes when we're adults, we make decisions from those same places. So I think you've done a little more work in that realm. So can you talk about your experience, like shifting that inner child into an adult?
Well, it's never easy. It's just not. I mean, um, but it is a place where I think miracles can happen, um, if we're willing to be courageous enough to really like throw ourselves into it. Um, and I think that um, I'll probably say things that are uncomfortable for me to say, because I feel like part of my conditioning as a child was to be polite, to be quiet, to be the good girl, to not to ruffle anybody's feathers. Um, and I got used to keeping my opinions to myself and the way that I perceive the world. And I was always afraid of saying the wrong things or getting it wrong, and so I didn't. And so there's maybe the way that I see the world and all of my life. through my lens is just my individual experience, and so I'm happy to own that. And then also I'm learning how to be okay with making other people uncomfortable with their own shit and like not taking it on. And that's for me right now where I think my work is, you know, because I can see myself clearly, and I can see if I stop and wait and ask, like, okay, um, this is uncomfortable right now. I don't like what I'm feeling. And then I can watch myself. And I think this comes with, many different things that we can learn skills if we've, because I wasn't given any of these tools, as a kid. The tools I had was to go into my room, be quiet and shut the door and keep everything out. And then that turned into all other types of like you said, when things present themselves, we have a choice to how we react to them. And so I was living by my reactions, like you said, to protect myself in whatever way I could do that. But now that I can see myself after, spending time doing meditation, there begins to be this choice that emerges. Like, I can choose now that I see it, whether I want to go down the typical path of avoiding and being quiet and just being mad and upset, or I can go and confront it and just say, hey, this is what's here, and how would I like to choose to move into this, or confront this, or deal with this, or look at it, or do forgive. I don't know if your listeners know about human design, but I've done a lot of work around human design. And so I realize that my design is sort of this person who is designed to experiment with many different things and take all the things that I find that work most efficiently and most effectively, i.e. fast, and then put them together and then share them with the people that I think that I see could benefit from them. And so I didn't know this about myself until, I don't know, maybe did I learn 2007 or 8, but just keep exploring it and knowing that, oh, this is the way that I'm designed and I'm supposed to be like this. So let me just embrace that and honor that, and not make myself wrong for wanting to always want to know why, or deeper, or, okay, I got something out of it. Now what else is there, So I'm saying all this because I've explored so many different ways to work with the inner child, which is, is way beyond that time period. Like, I believe, or what I've experienced in different ways, is that the energy that we are born with, that we hold in our tissues, whether that be the water that is the solution for our cells, that all carries divine imprints of being from the beginning of the beginning, because energy is never lost. So we're all carrying around the information from the beginning of time. And so who's to say that, like, that just came from my ancestry? Even we don't know. Yes, of course, that does have a lot of, we can see, like, certain diseases keep showing up in the same familial line, but really it's all aspects of all of us being filtered through,
Mhm.
so I don't know how long my being, my, this combination of cells has experienced feeling alone, or shutting down, not expressing my truth, being, afraid to ruffle other people's feathers. Like, how many experiences have I gone through, really? Like, millions of the same repetitive thing, and then I get upset with myself, like, why can't I frickin' just be done with this pattern? Like, this is so old. I should be over this by now.
Right.
I'm getting, like, annoyed with myself, like, I know better,
Yeah. Well, I
but
think it can also give you a space or an opening to have compassion for yourself. If you think about it, like instead of shoulding, like you could say, oh, well, no wonder, like, okay, this is why I'm here to do this work.
yeah, exactly. And the reason why this conversation is coming up is because of just that, like, together, I can see myself better.
Yes. Yeah.
And that, I think, is the reason for this podcast. And it's also sort of the reason why the purpose of what I'm doing on the planet, I
Yeah.
think, also is,
Yeah.
it's even in my human design. I just didn't know how I was supposed to fulfill on it. But like when I am fully expressed, then others get to be fully expressed.
Yeah.
But I have to do this work first, and then I can hold, or I change that now to harmonizing the space for others to show up in their fuller expression.
Mm, I love
And
that.
my focus is on the healthcare profession and specifically nurses.
Yes. I want to talk
So,
about that a little bit more, but first so we kind of skipped over a couple of things that I wanted you to share. So you are a mom. How many kids do you have?
3,
And they're all grown
and they're all adults,
adults.
even though they don't want to be. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Isn't it wild? Like my youngest just turned 18 and I'm like, how?
I saw that. I know. Just, I don't know. I don't know. It just happens.
I know it. Okay. And then so you are a nurse. How long have you been a nurse?
1994. So it's going to be almost 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what kind of nurse were you? What were you doing?
Oh, anything and everything. No, that's not true. But when I first got into nursing, I was a student and I was taking care of uh, pretty sick men and women in like an intermediate care unit in downtown Baltimore, Maryland. Uh, and I realized, well, I think I'd rather work on little people. So I went, I had my, and I like to do things fast and I like to do things intense. So it's like, I want to be in the pediatric ICU. So I went straight into that. And my favorite thing to do was work with the babies who had heart surgery because I just loved the complexity of the heart and how it functions, and also yeah, I don't know why I said that, but maybe because I'm fascinated with the heart. Anyway, and then that I became pregnant and I wanted to kind of de-stress my life, and so I moved out of that and explored different um, women's and children's health positions. And so I worked a lot with pregnant women and did OBGYN practice. And then I did home care for a while. And then I became a yoga instructor and I worked with moms and babies and did mom and baby yoga
Mhm.
and then I experimented with high risk perinatal nursing, and then I got involved into research. And I was doing meditation at the time, so I was trying. I realized that there was something really big missing in healthcare, and so my experimentation and my well fascination with the Eastern practices of healing and I really wanted to be the bridge to bring those into my allopathic, you know, areas. And so I was like determined to do those things. And so I did in small ways. And then I got a job as an educator in the Women's and Children's Health Department. And so I was an educator for a while, and that really gave me the confidence to take on bigger projects in the hospital. And so I decided to do some pilot studies and write grant proposals and present them and get funding. And so then I created, with the help of many people, sort of like an integrative therapy program at the hospital, and got funding for that, and then taught yoga in the hospital. And so I've always had like these this foot in both worlds. And and never really seeing that. I mean, now looking back is like, and then I helped a bunch of nurses get involved in personal development and training, and that was so rewarding, and I just really loved that. And since then, there's been all these opportunities to take a stand for my sisters and brothers as nurses, for their well-being.
Yeah.
For and also seeing, because I'm also like a visionary, because I guess it's an innate Aquarian trait that I'm embracing, but I see that consciousness, well, the allopathic world, the traditional university, academia teaches their basis of, the practice. I won't say healing, but the practice of medicine is based on the materialistic worldview. So that leaves out a huge big piece, which is everything. And
Yeah.
and so when I realized, put these things together, it was like, wow, that kind of takes like all the meaning out of everything that I've done on some level. Like, ooh, it doesn't feel good anymore. And so how can we flip the script and really give people the power back, like empowering people to see what really they have access to. And and that can be a scary thing.
Yeah.
Because yeah.
So what is it that what is the missing that you've experienced specifically in the realm of being a nurse, but being in the allopathic Western medicine side of things? What is it? Well, I know there's not just one thing. That's like a whole other 2-hour. We can save, we can dive deeper. We can dive so deep into all of that. But what was like the turning point, or the moment, or the thing that you saw that shifted the direction for you?
Well, definitely was my own awakening, because then it's like you take off these glasses and you couldn't see something that you couldn't see before, and it doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of just keeps pulling you along. It's like things. My life before I took the glasses off was a lot more, let's just say, vanilla. And even though it was vanilla, like very easy, let's on some level, it was just like that, like very bland. And living a spicy life is uncomfortable. I mean, but once you take the glasses off, like, you really can't go back. You can't. And so I understand what people have to go through. And like they say, it ain't for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
But it's like once you get the ball rolling, yeah, you can't turn back. And when you do look back, you realize, oh yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. Okay, fine.
Right. Like
You
once
know,
there's some level of acceptance, then you're like, okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was that, and then really seeing how much people were missing out on love, the experience of love. And I think it really showed up when I was dealing with this was all coinciding there around the same time I started practicing yoga, teaching yoga, and doing meditation on the regular, and my whole awakening. And I started to step more and more into the discomfort that my patients were feeling. Like these women would come in to our prenatal department to get induced or monitored because they were having issues, and then they were also having miscarriages there. And they were basically, admitted, seen by the doctor, put into bed, and then dismissed because they were no longer, they didn't need the doctor's attention anymore. That we weren't dealing with life, we were dealing with death. So, you guys can handle it. Like, here you go. And most people in general kind of shy away from that, everyone, all the nurses would have to take a poll because there would be a list. Oh, well, you haven't done it this time. You're up on the list. It's your turn now,
Mhm.
and it's like, what,
Mhm.
what? Anyway, so there's a lot of fear around death,
Mhm. Yeah.
and what that means to me is now after all these years, it's like, well, people are just afraid of living
Mm.
because it's the same, you know really, I mean, because there is no, it's just the experience of two ends of the same coin, but life and death. And so I would just naturally be attracted to help these women because I don't know, I wanted to be there with them, experiencing this moment in their life that they would never ever 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 forget. And how dare us let that happen for them, to feel alone. Like
Mm.
maybe that my alone feeling was giving me the you know the wound, basically, to meet them in their alone state, because many times they were there alone, and they were having a baby that was dead by themselves. Like,
Mhm.
how cruel is that,
Yeah.
to just let that happen? And okay, ring the bell when like,
When you're ready
huh?
to go home. Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, that experience had me share many many amazing moments with women, um at
Wow.
their most vulnerable and scary time in their life, and they turned into some of the most magical, beautiful moments as well,
Beautiful.
um so anyway, I don't know that. Okay, so all of that is to say that the thing that was missing was being willing to go into those uncomfortable places with people,
Mhm.
and hold, and be there with them in that, you know
Mhm.
um and so then that became sort of a thread and an inspiration for me to start to give nurses opportunities to explore that
How
with their
beautiful.
patients.
Yeah. What a beautiful, um, I mean, I can see how that changed things for you and your path. And yeah, I mean, well, you said earlier that you have such an interest in the heart, right? Like that's a big piece that's missing from our medical system is the heart, like the love and the spending the time and really listening to people and really just being there, like even just being there to hold somebody or even just to be in the moment with them can offer so much healing.
So much. Yes. Yeah. And so that presencing, that level of presencing, I think is what's missing. And also like not unhonored, dishonored as as medicine, which is pure medicine. I mean, but once you take the consciousness out of the equation, then yeah, that makes sense. Well, what? Like that. But yet it's all in the literature, not um non-specific effects, they call it.
Hmm.
Well, you can't account for the non-specific effects, but well, it's something's making a difference. So how can it be non-specific? That doesn't make any sense to me. We're just trying to like dishonor presencing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So, the work that you've been talking about this for years. We've talked about it. You've shared it with me before, the work that you want to do with nurses and the work that you're doing now. Um, but you're still kind of like in the birthing of it all, right?
Yes.
Bringing it into the world but it's the Sovereign Nurse is
Sovereign Nurse Association.
okay. So tell us about that.
Well, it was a divine gift, I would say, from consciousness, or my future self, or higher self, however you want to call it. Some part of me was like, okay, it's time. And this was 2 years ago. And then 2 years prior to that, I met a nurse. She was introduced to me through a friend. And when we got on the phone call, I'm just going to talk about my mystical experiences like they're ordinary, okay? Because I feel like we need to stop differentiating these what do they call them, not ordinary states of being. Like why can't they be ordinary, like, you know altered states? Well, I mean, I would love to live inside of altered states. They're way more interesting and pleasurable than
Yeah.
to stay in these ordinary states. Anyway, so I'm just gonna say that because that's my interpretation of it.
Okay.
And
Well, the only reason that they're unordinary is because people don't talk about them. So
exactly,
that's the Uncommon podcast.
there you go. Yes.
It's perfect.
Okay. So yeah, so I'm just gonna say what my experiences was. And because I mean, I've done the allopathic, I've done the science, the traditional science, the way that science is presented, and also this other science, like my own experience, and really when I was sharing these tools that are working with a subtle realm that include consciousness, the only way people were really able to embrace it was to have the damn experience. Have the damn experience, and then you tell me your opinion. Okay. So anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, the sovereign nurses. Okay, so
Yeah.
I met the friend, and I immediately felt the presence of Florence Nightingale. And I also had a lot of interest in researching nursing theorists. So there's that piece, and she just came in, and I just started to cry, and like I really feel Florence Nightingale right here in this moment, and she did too, because I didn't know that she had a relationship with her too, and it's a thing. So we're tapping into this being's energy that once was, because it's in the field imprinted. So we're tapping into her, And it's like, oh my God, we got work to do together. Oh yeah. So we don't know what the heck it is. We drop it. 2 years later, I got connected with this device, which is a frequency-based device. And there's a big story around this, which we could talk about at another time, but it was like the future coming into me, presented to me now. And so I shared it with her and she's like, oh yeah, I want that. I'm like, you do? She's like, yeah. She's like, I need that. I'm like, okay. And and it was just one conversation. And so then I met this person through an Uber, and he's like, hey, I got into the car and it felt really weird. It was like really high vibe. And I'm like, all these words kept coming out of my mouth. And like, he's taking me to the airport. I couldn't get it out fast enough. And I told him about the scanner, and he's like, hey, you need to come to this expo. And it's like next month. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to come to that expo. I'm like, I don't know why. So I got this idea. I called my friend who just ordered it, and I'm like, we're going to the expo. She's like, okay, I'm in. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, I'm in. I was like, oh God. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I think I know why we're like doing this together. She's like, why? I'm like, it's a Sovereign Nurse Association. And she was like, whoa. And we just both were like, whoa, like something's happening. And so literally, and a week later, we downloaded our mission statement, and then less than a month away, no, 2 weeks, we had to get our logo designed, and the logo just came in and got the logo designed. A friend did it for us for free. Like everything just fell into place. We got our tickets and we ended up at the expo. We had nothing to offer. All we had was our mission, our vision, a poster, and t-shirts with our logo on it. And we just showed up. We thought we were going to be presenting these AO scanners, but that's not why we were there. We were there to meet some other people. And this was in Vegas. And it's interesting because anyway, we met all these amazing, like-minded, like-hearted people. And we all knew that we were all coming back again to meet each other for this purpose. Like they felt the mission. They saw us. I've never had an experience in a like a expo like that before, where I don't know if you've been like a vendor before and like had a booth or whatever. And I've been there in like different kind of teaching aspects and different things, but I've never had the experience where we just sat there and the people were coming up going, what are you all doing? Like, this is interesting. I feel something here. I'm like, yeah, we don't know either, but we're here. And then we met two gentlemen, and they came up to us and they're like, you. And we're like, what? They're like, you're the ones we've been looking for. And we're like, huh? And they're like, yeah, we need to help you guys. And we were like, okay. So it was immediate like recognition, like other lifetimes. And so they helped us create a private membership association. And what this means is basically we're creating, I'll just say the mission statement, which is like we're creating a movement. And movement to me is life. Like without movement, there's stagnation and sort of like you're going down into like transform. But movement is life. So we're a movement and a platform where nurses can come to feel seen, heard, embrace their innate gifts. So that is connecting to their core values, connecting to themselves, being able to, be completely self-expressed. And so if you think about each person as a node, and all of these nodes are functioning inside of a system that's dying, that's imploding, that's not working, that everyone's getting burned out for a reason, because they're being pushed to go in to discover what's really, lighting them up. And we can't have people that are barely alive serving up healthcare. Are you fucking kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
From an empty place. I mean, I know I was functioning in it for a long time, as best as I could. I did a really good job maintaining both. But at some point, I think the system like spits you out, so it hasn't been easy to do that. It hasn't been easy to leave the money and the convenience of the system. And basically I've been floundering around trying to figure out, where do I fit in and how do I serve? But the vision is like, once all of the nurses start to align with their truth, and this is where human design comes in, and honoring themselves, honoring their 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 boundaries and their preferences, and taking care of themselves and really stepping into the highest expression of themselves, then the whole consciousness is transformed. Like, you can't have the same systems with the people who are inside running them be the same.
Yeah.
Like, they're gonna look completely different. Like, maybe they all look like gardens of Eden, and with like, I mean, I don't even know what they look like. I mean, I can imagine on some level what they might look like, but no one back in 1960 were going to be able to like understand what the world's going to look like right now with
Yeah.
all of our technology. Like, they just maybe there was those few ones that could tap into the future, but yeah.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like that. So we have a website, and we're starting to offer, well, we are offering nurses the opportunity to have conversations where they feel safe and they can start to tap into their heart.
Oh, beautiful.
And that's basically it. I mean, we're going to have our first workshop this this May 28th, on self-expression.
Mm.
And it's the first one, and it's the most important one, I think, because when we all have that realized, let's just say every single nurse on the planet, how many millions of them are there? Because they're all standing for healthcare, right? On some
Mhm.
level.
Yeah.
So when they shift their being of healthcare for themselves, like, can you imagine what the world would look like? They wouldn't be working, I don't know, maybe some of them will still be doing, the allopathic stuff because we'll need it. I'm not saying it's bad or wrong. I'm just saying um that evolution is happening, and
Yeah.
we want to support it, and that's all.
Yeah.
And it can be scary, and it has to be outside of the current system. And so
Yeah.
that's why we're private.
Hmm. It's so awesome. I'm so inspired by what you're creating. Like, it's what we need. And everything is shifting so much right now with all the systems, right? So it's just like the perfect time for it. So I just love.
And we know, and we've been going through the whole process ourselves, together, so that we can be prepared for what's coming. I feel like, there are so many of nurses who just don't know where to go or what to do. And I think it's going to probably get worse before it gets better. And we want to have like a place to be nurtured, a place to be honored, a place to be nurtured. And it's not like we know what's best. We don't. I mean, we just trust that nature's way will prevail, and
Yeah.
we're all getting supported in that.
Yeah. I keep the whole time you've been sharing that there's this quote that's been coming up for me a lot lately. And I'm probably not going to get it exactly right, but it's when you start to walk the way will be shown. So I
Mhm.
feel like that's what so many of us are doing right now. It's like, well, we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know where it's taking us. We don't know how it's going to turn out, but we know that it's what we have to do because it's in service of a better world. and it's in service of transforming so many of the systems that aren't working anymore. And so I just love everything that you're up to. And I love that you're doing that for the medical system. So thank you, because we need it. So are you still coming back to San Diego? That's my big question.
I can't say for sure at this
Okay.
very moment,
Okay.
but there is a good chance that we will definitely be back in some capacity, just not quite clear when. And this is sort of the same thing. Like, show me my next step.
Yeah.
And it's not easy for me to do it because I'm used to making things happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. Where can people learn more about the Sovereign Nurse Association? If I could say it. Association.
SNA. So we have a website finally, and it's sovereignnurse.org. Pretty easy. We have an Instagram, it's Sovereign Nurse Association, and we have Facebook, so you can find us there. We're just now developing a private YouTube channel. So we have a sort of out there, aspect, and then we have an inside aspect. And so the inside aspect is sort of like, well, we're protecting these babies and our messaging and our process from fear. That's the only thing. And so we have, like, private members areas where and the circles that we have are every Thursday. So if anybody wants to, like, dip their toe in, like, we have the circle online, so anybody can join. There's agreements, so that's specific, to creating a safe container, and we have those at 3 p.m. on Pacific, and that can be found on our website. So anybody can come, have that kind of conversation with us, and then you'll be invited to, like, come go deeper and join the membership. And that just means, like, it could be like a monthly donation or a one-time yearly donation. And that gives you access to our private workshops and deeper conversations. And then we also have a retreat planned. It will probably be small, but it's in Mount Shasta in October. So just want to say that too. Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool. I'm going to put all that information in the notes of the show when it launches. Is there anything else, any last words you want to leave us with?
oh, let me see. Okay. Well, so I speak light language, and I'm also making that more ordinary because I think it's happening anyway. And so I want to leave with that. I want to leave with a message of sound, and it yeah, because my heart is saying so, and it feels uncomfortable because um it's not something I've done, like, really publicly, and it's about me being fully expressed. And so I could go into that more, but I think I'll just, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
And there might be a message that comes with it, because the heart speaks. So the message that I want to say is that trust is what is evolving on the planet right now. And then the nurses are being invited to learn how to create more trust within themselves. And then there will be this like exchange process that happens because you can see all over the world that people are learning to pull back their attention and their faith from things outside of themselves to start to explore what it is to be resourced from within instead of from without. And then when everyone finds this resourcefulness within themselves, they'll have the courage to start sharing from a very authentic, overflowing, like a gush, like a wellspring of excess, we'll say. Because everyone will be enough. And when everyone's enough and has enough, then everyone is enough. And so we'll all have enough. And that's what my heart wanted to say. And that's my prayer for humanity.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for saying yes. Thank you for sharing your beautiful journey and what you're creating for the world. And I just love you so much.
Thank you for letting me share all that. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
And yeah, here's to your new journey.
Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
happening now.
It is happening right now. All right. Until next time, friends. Thank you for listening.